Welcome, everyone, to the show. I'm JJ Flazanes, your empowerment strategist and producer. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about becoming an accidental coach, and I'm not talking about me. This is my client, Dee Arndt, and I look forward to introducing you to her again. She was on the podcast last year, and her episode was called Being Open to a New Direction. You'll hear a little bit more of her story from last year today again. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Dee, but before we get started, she is a part of the Inner Circle Mastermind. And we do have a few spots left open for 2022, and here is my invitation. It is an application that you fill out, jjsinnercirclemastermind.com, but please don't fill it out. Do not apply if you're not ready to commit to yourself in 2022. Commit to yourself more than you ever have before. And I don't care what your circumstances are, because we still can find ways to honor who we are through all of that. And sometimes it's not the right time. And sometimes you're ready because you've heard the call. You have felt it in your body. Your body is telling you it's time for change. Your heart is telling you it's time for change. You're suffering from anxiety, depression. You're having stomach issues. You know that you're repressing the creative energy, which is your life force. I only want people in 2022 who are very dedicated to committing to themselves. So please, if you are that person who knows you need to have a side business because A, it's good for your taxes and everybody literally, quote unquote, should have a side business. If you are not a legal side business, you are missing out on a lot of refunds and opportunities to write things off, as well as an outlet for your creative expression and other ways to earn money. But on the other side, if you're just someone who is also in a business where you're all of it, and you need to scale it because without you, you have no income. You have to diversify your income and stop being the bottleneck to scaling and growing on a bigger level. If either one of those are you, and you are ready to commit to your business and to yourself and to your health and to your life in a new and more dedicated way in 2022, go ahead and fill out the application and we'll see if it's a fit. It will not be a fit for everybody because I'm literally up-leveling and asking for a deeper level of commitment for 2022. jjsinnercirclemastermind.com. Again, jjsinnercirclemastermind.com. It's only an application. You can find the link in the show notes. You can go to jjsinnercirclemastermind.com, fill out the application, and we'll see if it's a fit. I'm looking forward to an amazing 2022 of leverage, of scaling, of growth, of stepping out, going wider, going bigger, of creating things that I don't even know what's coming, but I'm excited to see what unfolds and to visualize what that might look like. And if you're with me and you're feeling that and you're wanting to get on that train with me, jjsinnercirclemastermind.com. So let me tell you a little bit about Dee. Dee Arndt has a background in graphic design from the University of Georgia and 25-plus year career in sales and marketing for a global corporation. Upon retiring several years ago, she opened her own studio to pursue her passion of being a full-time artist. And I'm honored to say that I was able to help her do that or be there for that journey. It was very exciting, and she wanted to become a full-time artist. And what happened next, I can't wait. Dee's creative process in the studio is a playful exploration of color and shapes as well as different materials. She states, the right side of my brain loves the freedom of abstraction, but the left side of my brain tends to steer me back to structure, symmetry, precision, and organization. It's a constant battle. Dee works with acrylics, oils, inks, and pastels, and she doesn't like limitations of one medium. She's also the founder and creative director of The Pretentious Collector, which was born last year, and we talked about that in the show she did last year called Being Open to a New Direction. She recognized early on the need to help artists with the business side of being a working artist. Not only does The Pretentious Collector curate a group show twice a year, and one is going on right now, right this very second, but they teach artists the what, the why, and the how to grow their potential collector base and facilitate more sales. Enjoy today's episode, and make sure to check out The Pretentious Collector show going on right now. Welcome to the show, everyone. If you are listening to this on the podcast, I want you to know we have a video. And the reason why today would be important for you to watch a video is because Dee's art is behind her and it's beautiful. So come on over to jjflazanes.tv. If you're finding this on YouTube, you can take us with you on a podcast. Click below and you can grab the link for the podcast episode on your iPhone or device and take us with you as you walk or drive or multitask or cook or whatever it is that you're doing. So welcome back to the show, Dee.
Hi, JJ.
So Dee Arndt is an artist. She is you've already heard her whole bio if you're listening to this on the podcast. And she has been in my community now for 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years. How long have you been listening to me?
Probably longer than that. I think I started listening to you probably about 7 years ago now.
Wow. So 7 years. Wow. And then she was in the very first beta mastermind. It was a 6-month trial after, I think, 2018. Yep. It was so the beginning of 2019. It was January because I launched it after the next big step in 2018. And I started it in January. It was a 6-month online only group that I was testing out to see how the online platform would work for manifestation and masterminding. And so you and Crystal were a part of that, and then have been in year 1 and year 2 of the official Inner Circle Mastermind. So your growth, I mean, I remember that first, and I know I keep threatening it. I swear one day I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back and pull that very first video of the introductions. In fact, I was watching it the other day because they live on one of the Facebook groups. And I thought, I'm going to make clips for you. I'm going to take and just clip your speaking and put them together with because, it's so fun to see the growth. And I'd actually invite you to do the same. It's in the Manifestation Mastermind group on Facebook. You could just scroll back and see some of the older meetings, because I think that's important. I've had Crystal do that. I've given her links. I'm like, hey, go back and watch yourself from 2018 to now, because you're going to see a big difference in so many parts of who you are. And before we started recording today, I wanted to find sort of a theme. And so what were some of the themes that you thought in terms of your own growth over the last couple of years? Let's just go from, because the people that are on the show heard you last year. Her show was called Being Open to a New Direction. And so now we're a year from that show and a year into getting deeper into your business. What would be the difference between now and then? I mean, what's changed for you?
Oh my goodness. What hasn't changed? Last year, I think the theme was pivoting, of course, because with the pandemic, all the art shows and festivals that I had planned for the year got canceled. And so, I was still kind of locked up painting and thought, everybody was in the same boat. And I have the community that I have around me with respect to artists is really, really big. And of course, with social media out there, it's even bigger. Not that you really know a lot of these people, but you feel like you do. And so the Pretentious Collector was born out of that. And it mainly was, how can I help the artist in this difficult time, to be able to sell their art. And so it started with an art show last fall. That was our very first art show that we had in a home. And people were still kind of funny about COVID and stuff, but it was very successful. We had over 700 pieces of art. We sold over $32,000 worth of art. It was absolutely amazing. And during all of that, I've become very close with a lot of these artists, and we talk about business and everything like that because I can really relate to them. And what I've learned this year is that these artists, the majority of them really need help with their business. I come from a corporate sales background. I also have a graphic design degree, but I really didn't do anything with that. I fell into the corporate world for forever. So over 30 years, I worked in sales and marketing, and the skill set that I have gained over those years really has come into play and very handy to help these artists. And so throughout the year, I have kind of become an unexpected coach, if you will, to help them. And so, with the Pretentious Collector, not only do I curate the art shows, but a whole new coaching business has blossomed into that I never saw coming.
Well, you were surveying them, asking them what they needed. And I remember you doing that, which was really super
Mhm.
smart. But did you do it at the time thinking you'd be coaching a lot of artists or wanting to help them grow their business? Or were you doing it to find out for the pretentious collector how to get more people to promote more, to get more people to the show?
Well, I kind of had a bug in my ear from the artists of the first show because of the conversations that we had and the pain points that they all were feeling with respect to sales and marketing. And so when I put out the questionnaire after our art show, I didn't really ask questions about the art show per se as much as I did about their business and do they do certain things? Do they have an email list? Do they strategically plan, their post and their sales and all that kind of stuff? And so I had an idea, probably just based on my personal experience from me being an artist, what the answers would probably be. And that just really was some validation that it was exactly the problems that they were having.
And because of the relationship and because
Mhm.
of the success that you had demonstrated that you had with getting their art sold, with getting eyeballs on their art, with getting pieces moved, I know that they definitely felt they felt a trust in you to give you that information and to be honest about where they are in their
Mhm.
business. And then since then, you've been coaching some of them and working with them on a whole slew of different things. So much so that you've created, I think, what I tell you, stop creating 2022. I mean, besides your art, of course, because your art is
Mhm.
beautiful. I have 3 pieces. Those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, I've got a picture of Dee sitting on my couch on her first VIP day she's sitting in front of her biggest piece with on her both sides of her lap. She's got 2 other pieces that I have here in my home. So, I love your art, first of all. And so never stop making your art. But at the same time, what's really sort of blossomed, I think, too, is that balance brain
Mhm.
aspect of your right and left brain. Like you wanted out of the corporate world for so long, you wanted to stop using sort of the left brain part and wanted to paint. And when you did the painting, then there was a little bit of, I'm a little bit lost because I'm painting, but now I don't have anywhere to sell it. So now what am I going to do? And then this whole getting into the pretentious collector and representing artists and promoting artists and
Mhm.
selling for them like a gallery. I mean, you're basically the pretentious collector is an online gallery, right?
That's right. That's right. It's a curated art show that we hold twice a year. The show that we have coming up uh, for the holidays is actually going to be online only. Um, with the Delta variant rearing its ugly head, there was some trepidation about having a show in person. So, I thought, well, let's just try it online. We've always had our art available online during a show, so anybody can shop anywhere in the world. They don't have to come to the show, but this show this time is strictly online. And so, I found myself testing a lot of things throughout the year based on hunches, on instincts, on, conversations and things like that, and just trying it, and that's one thing you asked me earlier, kind of what this year would be a theme or whatever. It's just, this just came to mind. It's just, throwing it against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. Well, you've created a lot.
I have.
Why don't you share with everyone listening? Now, I want you to be listening to this for a couple different reasons. If you listen for the show for a while, you've heard Dee before. You've heard her on her own show last year. She was part of this and last year's compilation show that we did with the mastermind. Each time I did another Facebook Live promotion for the support campaign that we do every year for the mastermind to support everybody's business. And so you've heard her a couple of times and hopefully you've seen her grow, but you don't really know what's happened yet. And so I want you, if you're listening to this, I want you to hear it from 2 different vantage points. One, if you're someone who's very right brained and you're not at all like into business or structure or spreadsheets or Airtable or I'm joking. Most people don't know what that is. If you're not like, that is not your jam, you're an artist, you're an empath, you're a healer. Know that that part of Dee is also there. That's what she retired early and she wanted to spend the rest of her time doing more of art because that's her passion. But what she's doing is helping people like you, to people that are artists and that don't really feel confident or like they have a zone of genius or even a zone of excellence or competence in the area of like marketing and business for your art. And so I want you to listen to this from the vantage point of watching her growth, but also seeing where in this it's your time for growth. Like, where are you more likely to expand? And maybe it's even like working with Dee. I want everyone right now to write down imusthaveart.com. So whether you're someone who loves art and you're a collector, or you're an artist and you're going to listen to the rest of the show today and wonder if Dee could be someone that could help you with your art business, and which she can, imusthaveart.com. It's for both collectors and artists. But so when you're listening to her story, especially if you've been here for a little while, I want you to remember, if you remember what she was doing last year and kind of the growth that she's had. So, you become the accidental business coach. You definitely did not start out doing this. But you've been really open to, and I was even thinking about, so Dr. Chris, you don't know Dr. Chris, he was here for a VIP day weekend this past weekend. And I was telling him about you, and I was remembering how I got you to the boot camp in 2019, and I was just remembering the state of mind, state of emotion, state of the world for you at that time. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
What was the difference between then and now? Where have you come from? I just hope you really acknowledge this on a regular basis, because it's not me, it's you. You've done the growth. I've just been a witness to it. But where were you in 2019 versus where you are now?
Well, first, let me say probably the biggest lesson that I have learned from you is to invest in yourself. And, through the masterminds, 2 years going now, and all the other, the manifestation boot camp, all the other things that I've done, I have really seen the importance of investing in yourself, whether it be through a mastermind, whether it be through coaching, whether it be through, extra classes or whatever. It's so important. And I think, like, for me, 30 years of sales and marketing, with a big company, we were always being trained. We were always going through trainings and things like that. And hindsight, now that I've stepped away from it, I see how valuable that was. And, you know, talking about where I was a year ago, I didn't really believe in myself. I was scared of the unknown. Here I was retiring, from a corporate job. I didn't really know, whether my finances were going to do it. When I finally sat down with a financial planner, and I thought, I'm okay. I'm okay. And really knowing your business and knowing where you are. But the biggest thing, like I said, for me is the investment that I've made in myself. And talking to artists like I do, a lot of them don't do that. They just don't do that. And in the day and age that we're living right now, with technology and everything online, and all the issues that the pandemic has caused, it's changed the landscape for artists a lot. And so many of them are not, they're not looking forward. They're just kind of doing the same thing that they've always done, and nothing's going to change. And so, I'm here to try to simplify it for them. I can sit there and talk marketing speak all day, but they'll glaze over. It'll go over their head, and I want to make it simple. I think, for artists and probably anybody in general, tell me what to do, tell me how to do it, and I'll do it.
We'll go back to, because I want those that are in my audience listening, I want them to feel you. Mm-hmm. Because with the success of last year's show, with as many products as you've created this year, and the validation you're getting from artists about the work you're doing with them, like you said, you didn't really believe in yourself when you first started, and a lot of them probably feel the same way. Now, they might feel, I don't believe in myself in general, and I don't have a background in sales and marketing, right? You come to the table with some skills, And then, the same kind of vulnerability or potential lack of confidence in an area which is brand new that you've never done before. You're stepping out and having to put yourself front and center in. So what would you say to the artists that are listening about your journey of going from, I'm not sure of myself, I'm afraid of the unknown, to this is where I've gotten to? And how would we speak to them to get them to invest in themselves and to know that there is hope and help? I mean, what kind of thought patterns or ideas did you have, or that helped you to, at each level, take that next step?
Well, one thing about me is I am a Sagittarius, and I love to learn. I seek the truth. I look out, for all of that. And if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to find out how to do it. I don't know how many artists out there really have that drive to do that. And I think a lot of them too don't really know what they don't know, because it's a fast changing world. Technology is changing constantly. And, like I said, I came from a corporate background. We had our own systems within our company. I've always been on a computer, but you step away from that and all of the things that I've had to learn, building a website, Airtable, yes, that is my friend. It is Excel on steroids. It's pretty, but and for me, I've taken the long road. I've taught myself how to do it. I learned how to do this, and it takes time and time and time. And if I can have someone help me speed that process up, that's where I hope to provide value to the artist, because I've done a lot of this stuff myself. And, coming from the artist side of it, I understand what they're dealing with and what they're going through and the problems that they're having. But at the same time, hopefully I can help them, with some of the left brain stuff, if you will.
Let's talk about some of the things you've created to help artists.
Oh my goodness, what have I created? Well, let's see. Of course, the curated art shows. That's something we do twice a year. I actually developed a planner last year. I've revised it this year, but it's a planner to help artists with their marketing. It's a 90-day planner. I'm going to be doing a workshop at the beginning of January. It's going to be in person, so if anybody is listening that's local or close to Athens, it's definitely something we're going to do. And we're going to go through in one day planning for 90 days, because I feel like if they can take out a chunk of time in their day and plan the next 3 months, it will be beneficial. And it's really kind of a test also. So, we're going to utilize the planner, but the planner is also out there for anyone that's interested in it. I have several different coaching packages that we've done, whether they're 1 hour or 2 hour brainstorm type things. I actually was this past year, this was really kind of a test. I wanted to see if it was something I'd be interested in doing, but I represented an artist and managed her social media. Don't think I really want to do that at this point in time. It might be something we expand into later, just depending on the need. But that's just a few of the things, not to mention trying to paint in between here and there.
Yeah. Well, there's also the webinar that you did.
Yes. I forgot about that. Gosh.
Of selling, right? Wasn't it the art of selling?
Yes. And it's funny because, while I put the presentation together, that's something that I definitely could do. I've done many, many times over in my career, but I have never done a webinar. So I had to figure out how to do all of that. And I actually did. I put the webinar on, had a great turnout. Actually, got some coaching business from that as well. And it's still up and live that, any artist, if they're interested in watching it, can. It is the art of selling. Just kind of go over 4 different main points about selling your art, marketing your art. So that was, that took a little while to do, but I'm proud of it.
Yeah, you've made a lot of things. You've done a lot of things this year. And so what's happening right now and what's really cool, when you think about local businesses, everybody who's listening, right? And you're like, oh, I have to, a gallery, I'm never gonna be able to make it there. Dee's last show at the beginning of this year she actually had the largest amount of sales online. And that was sort of why this show is, well, that plus you said, COVID is going to be only online. But why don't you tell everybody? So if you're an art collector or you just like to look at art, again, I have 3 of these pieces, and her artists have amazing art. And again, they're all one of a kind pieces, and there's so many different artists to choose from. And why don't you tell everybody so just listen up in case you're someone who's looking for that unique gift. You are looking for a this is after Black Friday, but if you're doing some kind of, you're out there just looking for that, again, whether it be for yourself or somebody else, just a unique piece that you can give somebody or that you want to get because you want to treat yourself. And then they're also doing Christmas ornaments. So tell us about this year's art show.
Okay, this year's art show, actually, it's probably by the time this airs, it's already going on. So it will run through the end of the year, December the 31st. We have 16 artists from 5 different states that are in the show. There's over 200 pieces of art, ranging from under $100 up into the thousands. So there's a wide range of art out there. We're offering free shipping. So now, depending on when someone places an order with the holidays, it may not get there by the holidays, but we are going to run it through the end of the year. So I'm really excited about it. The artists have been great. If you go to our website, you can see the list of artists, and the art is on the website to purchase as well.
Pretentiouscollector.com.
That's right. That's right.
Or is it the Pretentious Collector?
Oh, it's pretentiouscollector.com. You can check out all of the artists, all the artwork will be there. If you go to imusthaveart.com, you and sign up as a collector, you'll get a 15% off code that will apply to that as well.
Yeah, do that.
Yes.
I got your last piece at the end of last year with this whole, if I have a big sale, and then you had a discount, and I was waiting. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I bought it December 31st.
And you sneaky thing, you didn't tell me about it. And so it was a nice surprise when I woke up.
That's why I didn't tell you, because I wanted you to be surprised.
Yeah. And this is what I'll say for those people that, are looking for a really unique gift. It's so humbling to an artist for someone to purchase their work, because these are like our children. We spend a lot of time with them. We pour our heart and soul into these pieces, and we want them to go to someone that will really appreciate that. So, supporting the artist is really what the Pretentious Collector is all about. And, consider giving art this year.
And talk about you're doing a Facebook Live, and you're going to be doing a ornament.
Yes, I'm so excited about this. This is another one of the things that I'm having to learn how to do. But I've wanted to do this for probably 6 or 7 months now. So there's a handful of artists. There's about 10 of us, I believe, that we're going to have a Facebook Live ornament. It's an artisan Christmas ornament sale on December 1st at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. If you'll go to the Pretentious Collector, we have a Facebook page or whatever, but I don't know the total of ornaments yet. They still haven't gotten that to me. These artists are working like crazy, and they'll be painting up until the last minute, but you'll get to meet the artist. You'll get to see the ornaments. You'll get to purchase right then and there. You comment sold, the artist will get in touch with you, and it's yours. So I'm really looking forward to it.
This is like the Pretentious Collector HGTV or QVC hour, right?
Yes. Hour. Yeah. So we'll have our holiday gear on and glass of wine, and we're just going to have a good time. So, and if really print out some pretty ornaments.
If someone's hearing this after that, though, and they want one of the ornaments that wasn't sold, can they go to the Pretentious Collector and buy it?
No, the ornaments are not going to be up on the website. This is only going to happen during the live. But I will say this: if you go back and happen to watch the Facebook Live, because it will still be on our page, and you do see something, everything will have an item number. Go ahead and comment in there, and we can see if it's still available.
Perfect. Yeah, because this may be out right before that, and in case people are hearing it after, I don't want them to be discouraged to not try. So go find the Facebook Live on the Pretentious Collector Facebook.
Yes.
Is that where it's going to be?
Yes, that's exactly where it's going to be.
So Dee has a lot going on. And I think one of the things, and it's all really good things. If you had to look back and say what this past year, like what's the biggest lesson? What's the biggest growth? What's the biggest aha? What's the biggest change that you see in you from last year to now?
Well, as you know, I always appear frantic, if you will, because I'm juggling a lot. And probably the biggest thing for me is being able to prioritize. Like you said, you had to kind of slap me into shape and say, stop creating, but I don't really know if I'm answering your question, honestly. It's really tightening things up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, think about it for a second, because it's a question. It's, so this show is coming a week after my 600th episode. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And it was Michelle and Maureen and Shannon. Do you remember Shannon from?
I do remember Shannon. Yes.
All right. And it was a very emotional show. You haven't heard it yet because at the time of this recording, it's not out yet. But it was a very emotional show because we talked about all of our growth over the years since the Fit to Love podcast started. And while that was at this point 7 years ago, I think that one of the things I loved when like in previous masterminds that I would run that weren't like ours, I would always have a list of my goals. And then I encourage you guys to give you guys, you did this last year, the page I send out to like, look at what was accomplished. And some of it is numbers and some of it is, more my email list and my followers and my sales. Right. But then there's like a deeper idea to this. And if I had to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth because it's more important that you recognize the growth, that you see it in yourself. And so you can think about that for a second, because at the beginning, before we pressed record, intuition and expansion came up for you. You talked about how you really had to expand, and that for me means you've had to learn to take risks. You've had to learn to trust a little bit deeper, even when you don't trust, but doing it anyway. You've had to feel the fear and do it anyway. You've had to go kicking and screaming. But at the same time, I mean, let's just think about last year's Facebook, Instagram live. You bitched at me for so long. Like, look how good you're doing right now. Like, look how comfortable in front of the camera you are now, because you've done it enough that this is like not a big deal anymore. Like you minus the heat in your studio,
yes, it's hot in here.
Which nobody can tell. I just know that. Besides that, I mean, you're like a pro now. And so if you go back and look at the confidence level, the feeling of groundedness, and part of that is, yes, you have a lot of fire. And so you will always be an action taker of some kind, and not everybody is. But what would you say to the people who are either artists or not, who see your growth or are hearing about it and think, God, I want to be able to do that too? If you had to give them, besides invest in themselves, because that's a theme, what would you tell them to do?
Try to recognize when you're upper limiting yourself. I had never heard that term before you. And I really step back, when I feel resistance to something, I try to stop and step back and really figure out what it is I'm having a problem with, and recognizing where, I am upper limiting myself. And we don't like to be uncomfortable at all, me especially. You know how much I've griped and moaned about about a number of things, but I've done it anyway. And it's recognize. I would suggest to people, recognizing in yourself what your upper limits are and how you react to them, and what you can do to get around that. For me this year, you've been a big influence and a help with that, because you have pushed me, and I know myself well enough to know that I need to be held accountable. I need to be pushed sometimes, even though I have a lot of fire and drive within. When I'm hitting that limit, that's when I need a shove in the back, and I know that, and I think for artists especially, to recognize that, and whether you seek help on your own, or figure things out on your own, or your spouse or your better half or whoever that person is, to have somebody to be accountable too, and to have somebody that's there to push you and in your corner.
Yeah, kicking and screaming. No, I'm kidding. No, but everybody has resistance, and I do appreciate that about you. That you you aren't quiet about that, but you do it anyway. So it's not like, right. So and plus I know, and I, I'm a pusher. That's not what I want, and I know you want. You're probably not pushing people like I'm pushing people, but because you haven't earned that trust yet, because people, you have to a certain degree, but people listen to the show, know all the things I'm kind of into. So the speak is there, the vocabulary is there, the agreements are there without, before we even get started, because if you listen, I know you've heard this. With your artists, what I love is sort of the nurturing approach you're taking from wanting to teach them and getting them together and having them plan. Because if you're listening to this and you're an artist, let's say you're an artist and I'm way too much for you. You're like, JJ, I love you, but I'm never going to work with you. Cool. Work with D, because she's not me. And she'll be gentler than me. But because she's got that Southern, like, what's that Southern phrase we make fun of? Bless his heart.
Bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart. Right. Right. So she'll nurture you, but push you at the same time. And for me, if I was an artist who thought about, why am I doing art? And like you said about having them, they're like your children. I mean, when I do a podcast, I'm creating something. When I write a book, I'm creating something, and it's an extension of me in a way. But then I'm very passionate about wanting others to have it. And I think when artists, from my vantage point, correct me if I'm wrong, where artists get stuck is the technical stuff, but ultimately the passion is still there for you to want it to be out in the world. Unless you're going to just paint for yourself, which is totally fine. But if you actually wanted to get it out into the world, you got to be visible. And to be visible, you have to be somewhere other than your house. So Dee can help you with that and find the visibility strategy that will work for you. And, at this stage, especially right now, as she's cultivating these programs and these coaching and these workshops and her planner, you get to get at the ground floor and help her create it for artists, because that's part of the journey. I mean, I am here. When you and Crystal and a bunch of others who were listening signed up for that first beta, the whole thing for me was, who wants to do this? So you got to have people who say, yes, I'm interested in this. And then I got to see, okay, what worked, what didn't work? What do people want? What's the theme? And then that's when I created the Inner Circle Mastermind at the end of that year. For the following year, I got more clear. And every year I keep getting more clear. And that's how creation, right? That's how you paint. You don't just know what it's going to look like at the end before you go in. I mean, you may sketch, you may have ideas, but doesn't it change as you're in there? Don't you get inspired to oh, look, I'm going to try this over here. I'm going to put this over here. I mean, right. Is that accurate about how you create art?
If you could see some of the before, during, and after photos of my art, you would be amazed that the end piece is what I started with. It never ends up what I have in my mind, because it's very organic.
Yeah.
You see where you need to do things, where you need to take away, where you need to add, and it's the same with business.
Yes, it's the same with business. Oh my God, it's the same with business. And the most important thing is that if you're doing something that you love, something you're passionate about, you're working in your zone of genius and you're open to growing. You have to be open to growing to be in a business.
Yes.
And to be successful as an artist, you have to be open to growing, whatever that means for you. And so if you're an artist who is looking for help, and you listen to my show and it isn't going to be me, I'm totally cool with that. Please use Dee. Go to imusthaveart.com and get on her list. Send her an email. Go to thepretentiouscollector.com and check out her art. You want to be in her next art show? She's going to have another one. So that's something. And as she expands out past, I mean, she's got people in 5 different states right now because it's online only. And we'll see how that goes. And then there'll be more that she can open up to with the interest that's out in the world. So please speak up, even if you're not ready to take action, and let her know so that she knows sort of where the interest lies and that you might be interested in the future. And maybe there's something that you want we haven't mentioned. And and again, I don't control Dee. I didn't tell her to stop creating because creating is bad. I want to follow through with all these wonderful things you've created a little bit more, just to see which ones are worth pursuing a little bit further. Because as a creator, we can create new things every day, but then we want to focus on what makes the biggest impact, what makes the biggest impact in my pocketbook, as well as for the other person, as well as for what you want to be doing in the world. But we need people to get on board to work through it. And so that's the only reason why I told her to stop creating, is because she's created so much. Now it's time to take that creation into the world a little bit more and get more people to be on that train so we can see that develop, and then you can go from there. So, because you could be creating new, because that's another thing about entrepreneurs, and especially I'm going to say artistic entrepreneurs, is every idea is like, oh, I got to make that. And then all of a sudden you don't stay put or focus long enough on one thing, because you're always moving on to because you get bored and you don't want to move on to the next idea. But we can make a full-on business out of one of the things that you've done, and you've done so many. So any other things about the shows or about artists that you want people to know? Again, imusthaveart.com. Her current show is going on till the end of this calendar year, 2021, December 31st. Artists from 5 different states. And again, one-of-a-kind pieces. And you're really doing them, you're really giving back, and you're really stimulating the economy by supporting these artists, as well as getting an amazing, unique gift for yourself or others. And then if you're an artist, of course, I have musthaveart.com to work with Dee, find out what she's got. She'll give you access to her webinar. You can buy her planner. Just be in touch with her. Is there anything else that I missed besides you becoming the accidental business coach this year? You following your intuition, you being open to expansion and wanting to be pushed and held accountable, which I believe we all do need to, especially in the areas that we're not good at something. It's one thing when you're good at it, you don't need help with it. But when you know there's the next level and you have resistance, that's when accountability and dedication and commitment come into play.
Right. And this is what I'll say about 2022. I'm really excited because I do have a lot of things that I have developed this year, but are expanding into next year that I haven't even mentioned. The art shows, our in-person art shows, just so everyone knows, people from out of state can also be in those. Our spring show that we had three artists in there that were from different states that didn't have their art there physically, but we had it online. So just because you're not in Georgia doesn't mean that you cannot be in any of our in-person shows, because we do have the online presence, and we nurture that a lot. And like you mentioned before, the spring show, we sold more online than we did the first time. So I think that's just a platform that's going to grow. But get on the list, go to imusthaveart.com and at least get on our mailing list so that you are aware of the things that are coming down the pipeline that I haven't even mentioned.
You want to mention any of them?
No.
Okay. Stay tuned for more. We'll put that teaser out. And definitely, if you're also on Instagram, follow The Pretentious Collector. You'll be able to see the show also there. There's they're profiling all the different artists. You'll get to see if there's any that are special. You'll get to see which ones got sold. I remember when I was looking through, I kept waiting for the last piece I bought somewhere in time. And I'm like, don't buy it. Nobody buy it. Nobody buy it. It's mine. I mean, you sold prints of it. Yeah. But I wanted the original piece. So, and that's another thing too. You can buy prints of some of Dee's art. I don't know if all the other artists have prints, but you can get the one I talked about. It's called Somewhere in Time. You can also get a print of Overdue Celebration, which is going to go in my bedroom. It's sitting in my bedroom right now, but until it's redone, it's not going on the wall. And then, so, I got some great pieces. If you like what I have on my Instagram account, I'm pretty sure you can probably buy a print of both of them. Can you?
Well, I will say that you can buy a print, but you'll have to go to my artist website, which is d.aurant, AURANDT.art. I don't have my prints on The Pretentious Collector because everything in The Pretentious Collector is original artwork. There's no reproductions at all.
Okay. Well, I will put that link in the show notes also, because in case they've been on my Instagram account and they see that, I want them to get it if they like it and love it. And I don't want them to feel like they can't. So, all right. Well, Dee, I just want to acknowledge, and again, I don't know if I communicated that effectively or not to you, but in remembering, and I won't paint the scene for everybody. of when I said you're coming to the event, whether you like it or not, pretty much that I think I yelled at you pretty good because you were in a spiral. And I was like, you're not going to get out of that spiral if you don't do something outside of your comfort zone. And I don't know that I've seen you in that spiral since. I mean, it's just been a gradual transition into you, again, growing. And this business, because I always say, business will grow you. Your business will grow you. And when your business stops growing, it's because you've stopped growing. And I think that's a really important distinction to make. So as your business continues to grow, you keep continuing to grow. And yeah, I just think you're awesome. And I hope that everybody who's listening, who's an artist, will check her out, not only to be a part of the Pretentious Collector shows, but to get a coach and to get her planner and to follow her and to work with her, because she is awesome and she can speak your language. And if you and I are not a fit, then she is the next person in line that I would ever refer you to work with as a coach, because your art needs to be in the world. Your passion needs to be seen. You need visibility. And if you're not doing it, you need help. So,
yes. And I will say, let me just say this one thing too. When I started your mastermind last year, I didn't really know what I was going to do. All I knew was that I wanted to paint. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. But, halfway through the year, I did recognize, and I think I told you, is that I'm not the type of artist that can paint 24/7. I cannot go in my studio every day of the week and just paint. I need something else. And the Pretentious Collector is that something else.
Yep. Now we need to get you back into the studio to paint.
Yes. I know. Well, hopefully I'll have some new pieces, finished for this show for sure.
Okay. All right, everybody. So I musthaveart.com. Again, check the links in the show notes for the link to Dee's site if you want to check out her own art, and also the pretentiouscollector.com to check out the art show. So go buy art. It's live right now. The show is going on right now as we speak. It's going to end by the end of the year. And please check it out. I'm sure that you will find pieces that you love and other people will too. And again, think of it as a contribution to the world and to the art of the world. Let's beautify the world by contributing to the Pretentious Collector. Thanks, Dee, for being back on the show.
Thanks, JJ.